At the very start of Tears of the Kingdom, the entire world is thrown upside down, with the great upheaval creating sky islands and opening a pathway to caverns that were abandoned long ago. But this wasn't the first time. Throughout the series, we've seen sky islands appear and then disappear in the next game. So why does this keep happening? Why do these sky islands pop up and vanish out of nowhere? Is there actually a method to the madness? Well, yeah, and there's a lot more to it than most people would think. During ancient times, when Hyrule was created by the Golden Goddesses, the world was allowed to prosper, but only for a short amount of time. The immense power that radiated from the Triforce lured forces of evil from deep below the earth, leading to the rise of the Demon King demise. Due to this, Hylia, the god who was entrusted with this relic, was forced to confront this evil, while she sent her mortal followers known as the Hylians, as well as the Triforce, skyward on an outcrop of earth. She also created a cloud barrier to separate the sky from the world below, to make sure no evil would touch them. Now, centuries later, after this whole conflict had concluded and demise was sealed away by the forces of good, we can see what happened to the Hylians. They are mostly found on one massive island known as Skyloft, living in peace and almost forgetting about the horrors below. However, like always, evil never rests, leading to the event seen in Skyward Sword that forced Link to become the hero he was destined to be. Now, after a lengthy quest where he obtains the Triforce, uses it to get rid of Demise, and then still has to fight him due to some time travel shenanigans, the world is saved. After these events, the humans began repopulating the surface, leading to a long era of peace, and the surface was later renamed to Hyrule, leading to the world that we see in the Minish Cap. However, what happened to these sky islands? At the end of the game, we can see that some ventured to the surface, while others headed up to the sky islands once again. There was clearly some sort of split, which most likely led to two different societies forming. Although it could also be that eventually all the Hylians returned to the surface due to Zelda establishing a kingdom. She is the one true ruler and a descendant of Hylia, the god who protects the Triforce and rules over the lands left behind by the Golden Goddesses. In later games, Skyloft and any of the events seen during Skyward Sword are never mentioned again, not in old legends, books, or tales of wise leaders. If there was actually a colony of Hylians up in the sky that could visit at any time using loft wings, then the people on the surface would know about them. But this isn't the case. So the most likely outcome is that the Hylians abandoned these sky islands. But are they still up there? Well, it could be that once the cloud barrier closed again, the Hylians' connection to the sky was lost, but the islands remained, almost like a forgotten world. However, in later titles, we once again venture into the sky, but we do not encounter any of these islands or structures. So it could also be that after these islands fulfilled their purpose, they crashed down to Earth at some point. I assume that some form of magical energy was keeping them suspended in the sky, and over time this could have waned, leading to them falling from the heavens. We even see this to an extent with the Sky Islands in Tears of the Kingdom. Random bits of them are constantly falling down. However, weirdly enough, we see something similar to this in the game right after. That could explain what happened to those seen in Skyward Sword, and how they exactly work. As the years went by, the evils of Demise were forgotten, and the Kingdom of Hyrule was able to focus on different problems. After the Triforce was sealed in the Sacred Realm, peace lasted for an incredibly long time, and before the events of this game, a new set of godly creatures came from the sky to aid the Hylians. When evil descended upon the world once again, a mysterious race known as the Picori descended from the skies, and bestowed a courageous human the Golden Light Force and the Picori Blade. He used these artifacts to fight off the demons that were threatening the world, and was able to restore peace. This led to the tradition of the Picori Festival, but over the generations, the stories surrounding these mythical creatures passed into legend. It is said that a magical doorway opens just once every 100 years, allowing the Picori to cross from their world into Hyrule. Now, during the events of the Minish Cap, we once again see the Picori, but also a completely different tribe who live in the sky instead of on the surface. We are able to reach a place known as the Cloud Tops, which can only be accessed by the native Wind tribe and surface dwellers who are pure of heart. The world almost completely consists of just clouds that Link can walk on, which could actually be the original barrier that Hylia made so long ago. But we also come across two massive structures, the home of the Wind tribe and the Palace of Winds, which are clearly new because they weren't seen in Skyward Sword. So once again, floating land masses are seen. So while you would think that all of this ended after Skyward Sword, some people went back to the sky. So while you would think that members of the tribe are descendants of Hylians who remained up there after the events of Skyward Sword, this isn't true. But it could be that they are related in a way, because the following could have happened between these two games. Skyloft and other pieces of Earth floating in the sky either eroded over time or came back down to Earth due to the magic that suspended them waning. These Hylians then decided to live on their own, sort of separate from the Hyrulean kingdom, while still maintaining a good relationship. In the Minish Cap, we first learn about the Cloud Tops and how to access them from Gustav, an ancient king of Hyrule from countless ages ago. He is the earliest known ruler in the history of Hyrule, being in power at some point in the early days of Hyrule's Force era, and was very fond of the Wind tribe. This clearly shows their relationship was good, and as time went on, their skill in wind magic improved, and so they decided to move back up into the sky again. So while the island seen in Skyward Sword most likely didn't last, some yearned for living high above the cloud barrier that was once made by Hylia. And in Four Swords we can see that these structures are still there, but due to Vati's return, he has taken over the Palace of Winds, and the tribe who once used to live there is nowhere to be found. So who knows if they actually survived the return of this villain, but one thing is certain, their structures did, because later on in the timeline, in Four Swords Adventures, we see them again. But during the games set in between these, the palace sort of disappears, which is a bit odd. It could be due to lost knowledge of how to reach it, or the cloud barrier itself. However, there are two other Zelda games where we venture high above. However, this time, it is very different from any of the previous ones we looked at, and in many ways, it is beyond odd. When Link was trying to save the world from being consumed by Twilight, he went on a hunt for all the pieces of the mirror that could lead him straight to the source. During this journey, he ended up venturing to an ancient and strange city that was floating high above Hyrule. It was very different compared to any of the others we have seen before. These islands are kept high in the sky using mechanical means, with massive propellers keeping these structures in the air. According to research from Shad, a member of the Resistance that is deeply interested in a race of sky beings known as the Oka, this city has a lot more lore surrounding it. These bird-like creatures are an ancient race with bodies like birds but heads similar to those of people. They have wings, are able to glide for a short amount of time, and live in an enormous city floating high above the Kingdom of Hyrule. These weird birds are extremely intelligent and use a different language from the surface world called skywriting, and it is said that they have prospered in the time before the Hylians, achieving unique developments, using magic, and building an advanced civilization in the clouds, with this city being a testament to this advancement. Tales persist of them using their unparalleled technology to lift the entire city from the surface up into the air. Even the Sheikah tell stories of them, and some of their artifacts can even be found in other places in Twilight Princess, like the Dominion Rod that is found in the Temple of Time, or the Sky Cannon which is found below Kakariko Village. We can even find a mural in Castle Town depicting them with other races of Hyrule, some of which aren't even seen in the child timeline like the Rito, who only appeared in the adult universe. Signs of their existence can be found all over Hyrule, and Link even befriends one, but in all other games we never see them or any of their artifacts, even though they seem to be incredibly important to the story of the entire franchise. Shad even said that they created the people of Hylia. So what exactly is going on here? Hylians lived in the sky for decades during the events of Skyward Sword, but never encountered this city or the Aku, and the same goes for the Wind tribe, who also decided to live high above the clouds. Well, it is clear in Twilight Princess that reaching reaching this city is only possible using a special cannon built by the Oka. A miniature model can even be found in one of their shops. So it could be that over time the connection between the surface and this ancient sky city was lost due to these cannons breaking down. Or due to their magic, the city was hidden from any surface dwellers and other inhabitants of the sky. They seem to be an almost godlike race after all. So maybe they prefer to avoid the spotlight, just like other deities such as the Picori, Light Spirits, or Lord of the Mountain. But regardless of why they are so hard to find, it seems like this city has always been there, and it's probably still there in later games as well as other timelines. But again, we aren't able to see it, find it, or reach it. Truly, this entire floating metropolis is a bit of an enigma. However, if we look around the place in Twilight Princess, we can see that the city is kind of falling apart. So it could also be that over time, this place and its inhabitants disappeared. Out of all the structures found high above the clouds, this one is the most mysterious by far. And only in Twilight Princess can we find traces of this place and the race that created it. However, there's one other instance of Sky Islands appearing in The Legend of Zelda, and this one shook the world to its very core and revealed some of the biggest secrets in the entire franchise. During the intro of Tears of the Kingdom, the world is thrown upside down due to an event known as the Upheaval. When the Demon King Ganondorf broke free from his prison, he used the power of his secret Stone of Darkness to propel Hyrule Castle into the sky. And at the same time, both the Sky Islands and Chasms appeared in Hyrule. But a big question that many fans had after seeing this is, were those Sky Islands always up there, or did they only go up into the sky due to Ganondorf's dark magic? Well, they were actually high in the sky even during the events of Breath of the Wild, but back then only the dragons were able to access these Sky Islands. We can clearly see them open some sort of portal through the magical cloud barrier that was constructed by Hylia long ago. Originally, according to Zelda's interpretation of the murals found below Hyrule Castle, the Zonai descended from the heavens, most likely living on those islands before coming into contact with the Hylians. Even the Rito have stories of contact with these gods from long ago, when the wind stopped blowing in Hebra. One of the Zonai fell from the heavens, and the Ritos tried to help, but they were unable to fly the figure back into the sky. And so this godly figure showed them how to craft flying ships that could carry them. Now, after helping this god return home, they were rewarded with the Stormwind Arc, which restored the winds in Hebra and saved Rito Village. And these Rito even said that when they ventured above the thick clouds, that the clear blue sky was dotted with floating islands. So one thing is certain, these floating landmasses were always there, and became visible when the immense power of Ganondorf destroyed the cloud barrier and even caused some of these Sky Islands to come down. Even during ancient times, when the first king of Hyrule was still alive, Sky Islands could be found, and were actually used by Zonai, and at some point the Hylians as well. Although it seems like they were most likely invisible due to the cloud barrier that was still active. This is why it was such a mystery to the Rito where exactly this god came from. But some locations that would later become Sky Islands started on land. A good example is the Temple of Time. During the era of Myth, the Temple of Time was located on the Great Plateau, where the Temple of Time ruins would later be constructed. All of this can clearly be seen in Age of Imprisonment, which provided us with crucial information on what exactly happened so long ago. And even though it's a first, it's explicitly confirmed by Nintendo that the story of this game is fully canon. When it comes to Sky Islands in the Zelda series, it seems like most of them are held up using a combination of magic and technology, and they often seem to disappear from the world due to some sort of shroud, veil, or barrier hiding them. And quite often, due to the conflict seen in the Zelda series that forced the entire world to almost reset at times, certain techniques or ways of reaching them are lost. But they always remain there. Sure, some could have disappeared, but many remain hidden up there. And strangely enough, a lot of races decide to venture up into the heavens when they are advanced enough. And I think there could be two reasons for that. First of all, one motivation could be being closer to the golden goddesses of Hyrule, who also came from the heavens. This is also seen in real-world religions, where many churches were built as tall as possible to be as close to God as possible. So maybe races like the Oka, Picori, and Zonai went up there for that exact reason, and over time became deities themselves to those below. However, I have another explanation. Now, as we all know, most evil seen in the Zelda series erupts from the earth. Demise came from a fissure in the ground after all. So maybe these races went skyward to escape the horrors found on the surface. That was the original reason why the Hylians were sent up there after all. So it's clear that the sky of Hyrule is filled with hidden locations that might not be seen for centuries or are lost forever. So while you might think that these sky islands keep appearing and disappearing, that most likely isn't the case. Most of them are up there, hidden from plain sight. Well, until Nintendo needs them once again for a cool story beat or an in-game mechanic. But this isn't where the story ends. We tackled so many other mysteries in the Zelda series. For example, how many times has the full Triforce been used? The true story behind the Skull Kid, and what happened to the Ocarina of Time. So be sure to check those out. And don't forget, I stream here on YouTube every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe so you won't miss any future videos.